Today I'm testing tomato sauce seasoning for pizza, using only Lidl tomatoes. Same dough, same oven, different sauces. Let's see if seasoning really matters, and how much. Welcome back, I'm Mo, and you're watching Real Fake Pizza. One of you asked in the comments to show some tomato sauce recipes. So today we're going to test the 3 most common types of canned tomatoes you can find in pretty much any store. During our weekly Lidl run, we picked up these 3 cans: Passata, chopped tomatoes, and whole peeled tomatoes. Passata is the most straightforward option, so I'm using that first to compare 3 different approaches to pizza sauce: unseasoned, seasoned with dry ingredients, and seasoned with fresh ingredients. So I open up the passata and split it into 3 equal portions in small bowls. The first one stays completely untouched. No salt, no seasoning. The consistency already looks pretty good for pizza. For the second sauce, I use only dry seasoning: a pinch of salt, a pinch of dried basil, a pinch of oregano, and a pinch of garlic powder. Everything is eyeballed here. No grams, no scale, just mixed with a spoon. For the third sauce, I'm keeping it fresh. 1 clove of garlic, smashed or finely chopped, whatever you prefer. A few fresh basil leaves, roughly chopped. Nothing fancy. Then just a pinch of dried oregano and salt. So the first 3 sauces are ready for testing. To have something to bake, I threw together a super simple 6-hour dough. I tweaked the app for 3 smaller pizzas: 60% hydration, a bit of salt, and a little olive oil. I dissolve the salt and fresh yeast in room temperature water, add the flour, and mix everything by hand. For a short fermentation like this, all-purpose flour works perfectly fine. I drizzle in the olive oil, move the dough onto the counter, and knead it for literally just 2 or 3 minutes. The technique is very straightforward. Push the dough away from you with your palm, then roll it back toward yourself while closing your hand. Turn it slightly, stretch, roll, turn, and repeat. 2 or 3 minutes, nothing more. I don't want my hands to heat up the dough too much, because yeast reacts very quickly to warmth. So if your dough often ends up overproofed, kneading too long might be one of the reasons. After a 30-minute rest, I divide the dough into 3 roughly equal pieces and form the balls. There are a lot of ways to do this. Here's mine. I hold the dough in place with my left index finger, grab the edge with my other hand, fold it toward the center, rotate, and repeat until I've gone all the way around. Then I lift it up, seal the folds with a slight twist, place the seam side down, cup it with my hands, and drag it on the counter to tighten the ball. Easy peasy. The dough balls go into my trusty old Tupperware plastic box for proofing. Some of you asked where I got these, but I think they're no longer sold. Honestly, any plastic container of the right size with a lid will do the job, so don't stress about it. 5.5 hours later, we've got some nice, puffy dough balls ready to bake. Some of you might notice that I finally got a proper stretching board. I've been lobbying for this for quite a while, and the request finally went through. And honestly, I can only recommend getting one. It makes the whole process cleaner, and the dough barely sticks to it. With very little flour, the wooden surface instantly makes you feel like a better dough chef. You just place it on the counter, do your work, and when you're done, scrape it off with a spatula. Kitchen stays clean, everybody's happy. For this sauce testing video, I'm using the electric UFO oven. It's -5 outside, so I really didn't feel like going out and firing up the gas oven. For all 3 pizzas, I use the same method. I par-bake the base with only the sauce for about 2 minutes. Then I add some Parmesan, basil leaves, and fior di latte. Once the cheese starts to bubble, I pull them out. Total baking time is around 3 to 3.5 minutes per pizza. So here we have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Jokes aside, I think they all turned out pretty nice. Even this simple 6-hour all-purpose flour dough handled well and rose reasonably in the cheap Secotec oven. And with a 3-minute bake, we're not talking about true Neapolitan pizza anyway. This test is really about the sauce. So I asked my beautiful helper Claudia to rate the results. I mean, sure, I could rate them myself and say, not bad, or this one is a bit better. But like a truly independent man, I asked my wife, so, how do these taste? If you're looking for brutally honest feedback, you have to get married. There's really no way around it. After some tense moments, we had a winner. The sauce with the fresh ingredients ruled them all. Second place went to the unseasoned passata, which honestly surprised me a bit. And the dry seasoned version, well, that one ended up being the dud. The unseasoned tomatoes actually had a really well-balanced flavor, low acidity with a little natural sweetness. In comparison, the dried seasoned one tasted kind of flat and dull, and somehow even more acidic. But the fresh garlic and basil pushed our winner straight to the throne. It tasted brighter, fresher, and just more alive overall. So based on this experiment, for the next two recipes I'm sticking with fresh seasoning. A clove of garlic, some chopped basil leaves, a bit of salt, and some dried oregano. Now, I don't know if you've ever bought canned chopped tomatoes, but this one is cut pretty rough. Big chunks everywhere. So first, I throw it into a blender and turn it into a smooth sauce. After blending, though, it becomes very runny, way too liquid. If I used it like this, it would completely flood the pizza. So I transfer it into a pan and let it simmer gently to evaporate the excess water. Compared to the passata, we already added at least 2 extra steps. To justify the extra time and effort, this thing really has to deliver some serious flavor. But honestly, I'm a bit skeptical. What do you think? While it's reducing, I use the time to chop the basil and peel the garlic. It took around 10 minutes on low heat to reach a more reasonable consistency. Once I turn off the flame, I add the seasoning and mix everything together. Turning whole, peeled canned tomatoes into pizza sauce is a bit simpler than the chopped ones, but it still needs a couple of extra steps. First, they have to be drained, so you separate the tomatoes from that thin packing juice. If you want to be very precise, you can push them through a colander to remove the seeds as well. I went the lazy route and just blended them after draining. There were only a few seeds anyway, so whatever. Then I chopped up the garlic and basil, added the seasoning, and mixed everything into a sauce. Most pizza places make their sauce from whole, peeled San Marzano tomatoes. If you can get high-quality ones, this method can work beautifully with a bit of elbow grease. Often, simply crushing the tomatoes by hand gives you a perfect texture, and going too hard with blending can release more acidity from the seeds, so that's something to keep in mind. From here on, the process is the same as with the passata. I prepared the same 6-hour dough, so I shaped 2 pizza bases and par-baked them, one with the sauce made from the chopped tomatoes, the other with the sauce from the whole peeled ones. By the way, these wooden peels came with the oven, and they're actually pretty neat. Launching the pizza is super easy with them. After the par bake, I add the same margherita toppings, some Parmesan, basil leaves, and fior di latte mozzarella. I think they look pretty good. I did mix them up on the counter for the showdown though, so the one on the left is the chopped tomato sauce, and the one on the right is the whole peeled version. And finally, the moment of truth. Well, that's quite disappointing. Both sauces tasted very acidic and had almost no sweetness at all. I guess that's what cheap, lower quality tomatoes can give you. Anyway, I'd say this test was a success, all things considered. The 6-hour dough turned out really tasty, and we learned something important. Fresh garlic and basil are the way to go, with just a pinch of oregano and salt. Try the sauces you can get your hands on, and pick the one that tastes best to you. Out of these 3, the passata won by a mile for us. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite tomato base, and what would you like to see tested next? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.